Oh my god, dude, that Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. They put the pedal to the metal for like an hour straight on banger after banger announcement. I genuinely got up early for this. Hi again, fellas, and welcome back to With a Y. People have been cheesing over the Nintendo Switch 2 for the better part of 2 years now. It was almost inevitable. Like, we knew as early as last year that it was inevitably going to be something we see in 2025. The design, specs, and new features were getting leaked left and right and seemed pretty credible. The Nintendo Switch has been out for over 7 years. We're coming up on a decade, and it's had the longest life cycle of any console Nintendo has ever put out, and I believe it's sold the most units of any Nintendo system ever made. So a follow-up to that just felt like a no-brainer. Let's make the same thing, just like better, right? Last week they pump-faked us with a Nintendo Direct that also had a lot of really cool announcements in it, but all the stuff in that presentation were games that were going to be available on the first Switch. So everything we saw here was news to us. Before we have some fun with this and talk about all the good that came from this presentation, we should probably bring ourselves back down to earth real quick. It's looking like the base Switch 2 is going to cost $450 USD. That is like if you only want to get the Switch and the dock in its base form. There's also an option that rounds out to $500 if you choose to get the bundle that comes with Mario Kart World. And as exciting as everything shown off in that Mario Kart World presentation was, they're saying the game on its own is going to cost like $80. AAA games recently just started costing $70. An $80 AAA game could mean two things. A, this was a ploy to get you to specifically buy the bundle with Mario Kart World. Or B, this proves that Switchflation is real and GTA 6 is actually going to cost $100. Whatever you do, don't actually look up Nintendo Switch inflation. They did some fucked up things to that controller dog mascot. And those are American prices. If you look at how these things scale when converted to Canadian and Australian dollars, things look bleak over there. It's very similar to the PlayStation 5 Pro costing like $700 in certain places. In Canada, we're looking upwards of $700, which I know that's like worth as much as $500 here, but the money being a bigger number does make me feel worse. I feel for Canadian people out there who are just getting ass blasted from every direction. Outside of those let-me-downs for the console, there was also like some major stream functionality issues. I was watching the Nintendo of America stream for the most part, but from the very beginning, the audio was off-sync by like a second for almost the entire broadcast, and that was fine enough. Like, I can deal with that after a little bit, but there was one point where the broadcast completely froze, but audio kept playing. Like, the YouTube stream had 1.5 million watchers currently, and it just got froze on this one random trailer, and I feel so bad for the developers of the new Enter the Gungeon game, because it chose to bug out at the exact time that their trailer was playing, and you could hear it running in the background. For some reason, the United Kingdom Nintendo stream was still working right with the audio in the correct place, so there were just hundreds of thousands of refugees spilling over to that one in order to stay up to date with all the news and not have to wait for them to fix it. Like, the video on the American stream started playing again, but the audio wasn't fixed and it was just straight up a minute apart. Yeah, Enter the Gungeon just got shafted big time, and I hope they're able to get eyes on with their game somewhere else in a big way. I can only imagine someone's gonna get fired for this, man. That said, I think we've been a negative Nancy for just about long enough, and we can look at some of the things that got announced today. At the top of the agenda for this stream was Nintendo expanding on that new Mario Kart game they showed in the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. We got a lot of details. It's 24 players, it's gonna be open world, and the argument for that really steep $80 price tag is that there's supposed to be just a bunch of content in this thing. Apparently, it's gonna have more than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and all the Season Pass stuff with it, so it'll have more tracks, and it technically costs less than all the content we got on the Switch was. And there's an easy workaround, just get the bundle, and if you want to get a party game immediately for your Switch. The last few generations of Nintendo consoles have a pretty strong emphasis on either shitting the bed or being a party machine, but it felt like they were only setting up Mario Kart World as a killer app because it was a multiplayer title, and they wanted to tell you all about their new service for you to be able to talk to your friends online. Discord! Okay, so what I'm showing you right here looks almost identical to the Discord layout, but no, this is Nintendo's proprietary, original game chat program. Like, it does basically everything Discord does. You can have all your friends' webcams on screen, you can individually share screen your game to each other because there's a webcam peripheral you can get. I hope any old USB-C webcam will work for this purpose, though if Nintendo's really serious about their penny pinching, they won't allow something like that. But like, it even has the green screen stuff and the crisp noise cancellation that's supposed to apparently let you keep talking while the blender's going off in the background and still be perfectly audible with crystal clear quality to all your friends on the Discord call. Sorry, I'm gonna keep calling it Discord even though it's not. It really does feel like Nintendo just refuses to work with any other company that works with either of their rivals. They wanted the Samus Metroid skin to only be available on Nintendo Switch, and that's why it never got put in Fortnite. And whereas Sony and Xbox were like, fuck it, we'll just put the Discord app on console so it's easier for people to talk to each other across the service, Nintendo's like, no, we're making our own. It's gonna have a lot of the same functionality and be really useful for those who maybe don't usually use it, but fuck you. And it seems like they're trying to integrate game chat and its functionality way more into just how the console works. There's a whole new button with a little C on it that you can press to do game chat stuff. And we got a cute new little parental controls animation with Bowser Jr. thinking his dad is cool for protecting him from the evils of the internet. One of the other really interesting things the Switch can do was a leak that has now been confirmed where you can use the Joy-Cons on a flat surface and use them like you would a mouse. I personally think a new input method like that is interesting and could lead to some cool games. The main one they demonstrated was a wheelchair basketball game where you have to move the Joy-Cons like mice to spin the wheels on your wheelchair and then also to be able to make shots into the hoop. It won't lie, if it handles as well as the trailer was making it seem, it could be fun. I just wonder if it'll have like a similar issue as VR did, where the immersion of a game being somewhat physically demanding can be interesting and novel, but if you actually get tired when doing it, a lot of people tend not to want to do it then. And I'm not gonna lie, for the last month, the Nothing Ever Happens crowd has really been struggling. Not only did we confirm that Deltarune is in fact tomorrow, and when exactly tomorrow is, like there was a dude who got in a mascot suit of Toby Fox's little dog character and started doing dances and then dying on the floor because Deltarune chapters 3 and 4 are slowly getting information drip fed to us. We saw some very small clips of them, which has people all over the internet just salivating. But even more shockingly was a fandom that we've kind of dunked on because of how much we pity them on this channel. The Silksong Truthers got a genuine drive-by shot in the arm. Like a mysterious van just pulled up to one of them in a McDonald's drive-thru and stuck adrenaline into their veins and ran off. After years of silence, Silksong got confirmed as coming out in 2025 because of like a random slide in a sizzle reel. Like there are tweets like IGN is making saying Hollow Knight Silksong announced for 2025, and like it's doing good numbers on Twitter, but the screenshot from the broadcast that they use just feels so limp in comparison. This news is earth-shattering for so many people. This is like 6-figure digits on Twitter numbers, and this is what we get to celebrate the occasion, man. It's almost like Nintendo realized they missed out on making a bigger deal of something like that, because they ended up giving it its own announcement tweet like they would any of the main really centerpiece announcements. And the numbers on that bitch did better than most of the other games from the Nintendo of Europe account. Like people are excited for a lot of the exclusives coming to the Switch, but nobody knew if Silksong was ever gonna come at all. So this is just, like this stream had announcements that made people with no shits to give about Nintendo shit their pants squeeing. Speaking of some of those exclusives though, there were a lot of games that people didn't think were ever going to get a follow-up, just making a fourth quarter comeback, just getting a new title in the series after 20 years, namely Kirby Air Rider. It is now Kirby Air Riders, confirmed to have Masahiro Sakurai directing, which means a couple things, because A, it's probably gonna be gas if he's at the helm, but B, that also means that this is what he's been working on for at least the last few years, and if not that, then for the next few. So that means for a Smash Bros game, either he's been crunching to death working on both, not been working on the Smash game at all, which means we're not seeing anything on that front for ages, or there's somebody else entirely, which could completely shake up that franchise. I honestly, like, let the man rest as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if he's trained or mentored some type of successor who can take up that work specifically. As much as I think Sakurai's guiding hand has made those games so much of what they are, I think he should just be able to enjoy his life now. If making more games is how he does that, that's cool, but that dude seemed so fucking stressed whenever Prime Smash hype was going on. My friend Sam is a game dev, and I'm not gonna lie, he brought out a point that I never would have noticed on my own. Remember to pour one out for the indies making a spiritual successor to whatever game, because they were just hit with like 8 9/11s. Like a fucking lot of them, dude. Really specific genre of indie anguish on the timeline today. When I'm making a Kirby Air Ride successor competition and my opponent is Kirby Air Riders? No! This is Turnip Mountain, an all-new climbing adventure. Oh, Mario just did it? Oh, fuck. Fuck. Being in that position has got to be really tough because you're A, simultaneously in a position where you're a big fan of those original games because hell, you're making a spiritual successor to it to try and fill the void left by no new titles for that game. So the announcement of a new one has to make you happy as shit, but also it might sink your economic plan for the next fiscal year. If a silver lining is a positive consequence that comes with a really bad thing, I would say a silver bullet is what comes with something really good that has some pretty bad consequences. GameCube getting added to Virtual virtual console has made me a lot more interested in it as well. I wanted to play the GameCube Pokemon games for a while, namely Gale of Darkness, so having that might make me actually put my Switch in my setup and not just keep it in the living room. And I saw 2 new titles revealed during this presentation that made me feel like the Switch was a console I wanted to have, because there were some games I could only play on that and not get on PC in the way that I really wanted a PS5 for God of War Ragnarok. I have this weird aversion to the Switch. Like, I'm not nearly into as many of the legacy franchises that Nintendo has as some others, but something about Donkey Kong Bonanza and all the destruction mechanics that I'm seeing in there look absolutely fucking nuts to me. I made this really awesome and unique joke. Guy who's only played Astrobot seeing the Donkey Kong Bonanza trailer, getting major Astrobot vibes from this. I'm just really excited to see what they're cooking here, and I think what might be the biggest one in a lot of people's books is this new game Duskbloods. Bloodborne is one of those games that we've seen no news about new content in the IP for literal years, so it's one of those games that it's funny to say, oh, it has to be Bloodborne, when it's obviously not, or there's no way it could be. So when the trailer for this came up and I saw it had a vaguely kinda gothic aesthetic, I was like, oh, guys, Bloodboners, Nintendo bought the IP from Sony so they could do something with it, which unironically would have been a really funny thing to do, if very unlikely. See, the thing is, I was kidding until the FromSoftware logo just appeared on screen. I might have shit myself a little on that one. What if Nintendo straight up bought up the Bloodborne IP?
That'd be nuts. It's ours now. Sorry, Sony.
I love them for the rest of my life.
Oh, what the fuck?
No fucking
way!
No!
No!
Yo,
Wait, is this actually
yo,
There's no way! There's no...
Come on! Bloodboner 2?
And then as things went on, the design of the world looked crazier and crazier, but it was not Bloodborne. That much became clear. It's an all-new original IP, only on Nintendo Switch 2. That has to be the most exciting third-party exclusive for a Nintendo console in, like, 2 decades, as far as I'm concerned, at least. Maybe you're really big on Mario Rabbids, dog, but that is, like, a must-play for me. Especially because it seems like the Switch 2 can actually hit 60 FPS. This thing was just genuine information overload, man. Each of these individual trailers could realistically be turned into 10-minute pieces of their own by me, but I still haven't told the story of Elon Musk role-playing as his infant child on Twitter, so I have to pick my topics wisely. Either way, I am so excited for what this brings, because the console comes out in June, man. It's in 2 months, almost to the day. We don't have a long wait for this at all. Most of these games are gonna be playable within the next 3 months. Like, I'm gonna be able to play Donkey Kong Bonanza in June. I'm working on my master's degree, and before my next semester of school, I'm gonna be able to play this game, man. A few last details before I wrap up here. Duskbloods is apparently meant to be a multiplayer game, explicitly advertised as a multiplayer title from the creators of Dark Souls. And from the emphasis in this direct about all the new chat and social features, I imagine that's part of why they chose to go with that as an exclusive. And it looks like Donkey Kong Bonanza is only going to be $70, so even if it's delusional to do so, I'm gonna take that as a good sign that Mario Kart World being $80 is just an outlier here that's trying to get you to buy the cheaper bundle of the console that comes with the game. Oh my god, dude. Either way, that's all I got. I'm excited, man. That kwytebox@gmail.com email is in the description if you want to send me video topics. Anyways, piss off.